Hello and welcome to a special discussion for The Wire. The government repeatedly stresses India's low COVID mortality. That for the government is proof that this crisis is being handled properly. But the key question is, how accurately is India's COVID mortality calculated, and much more importantly, how substantial could be the undercounting? A recent article published on the 10th by the Hindu newspaper suggests that the undercounting is very possibly very substantial. Joining me to discuss the article and defend its findings are the authors of the article, two community physicians with a deep interest in public health, Hemant Shevade and Giridhar Gopal. Gentlemen, before we discuss the extent to which COVID-19 deaths are undercounted, let's start by talking about the way deaths are handled in India. Dr. Shevade, the Indian government claims that 86% of all deaths are registered, but that is actually an average of the country as a whole. There are several states where the registration percentage is well below 86. For instance, in UP, it's just 61%. In Jharkhand, it's 55%. In Bihar, it's as low as 35%. Doesn't this mean that in some of the most populated states, the registration is actually quite low?
Yes, Mr. Thapar. In some of the most populous states like Uttar Pradesh, Jharkhand, and Bihar, which constitute roughly 30% of India's population, it is the civil registration system of the system report of the Government of India states that the death registration is low. And even among those 86% that get registered in the country as a whole, we need to understand one point. That is, only 34% of those deaths happen in a medical facility under the supervision of a doctor. So it is not just that death registrations are low in some state. In general, at the level of the country, only 34% of the deaths happen in a health facility under the supervision of a doctor. And this is also as per the recent Civil Registration System Report 2018.
Now, Dr. Gopal, something else that the Indian government's own figures bring up is that whilst the registration of deaths may be 86%, certification of the cause of death by a doctor nationwide is only 22%. And again, in some critical states, it actually is a lot lower than 22%. For example, in Madhya Pradesh, it's only 7.4%. In UP, it's just 5%. In Jharkhand, it's 2.6%. In Bihar, it's 2.4%. And doesn't that mean that in some of these very populated states, over 90% of the deaths will happen without a doctor definitively establishing the cause of death?
Absolutely, Mr. Thapa. Just 22% is the national average, but if you take these states, which are actually contributing to a major chunk of the country's population, and again, I reiterate what Hemant had mentioned, only 34% of the entire deaths that are getting registered happen in hospitals. So when we factor in this fact of having low number of doctors actually not being able to code it in terms of deaths happening at home, yes, the possibility of having low certification of causes of death of home deaths is a big possibility in these states. And second, also in terms of rural health statistics, wherein we have the per doctor population in these states who are actually authorized to do the medical certification, we can as well confidently say that the certification is not happening that it should rightly happen. And 22% is just a number that it's coming up. And to quote more in terms from the historical background, both the Registration of Birth Index Act and the MCCD have been in place since 1970s. So over the last 40-50 years, we have just reached about 20-22%. So
just to sum up what we've achieved so far, we've shown that 86% of deaths, according to the government's claim, may be registered. But in some of the most heavily populated states, to take UP and Bihar as examples, the registration percentage is a lot lower. It's 61% in UP and just 35% in Bihar. And more importantly, doctors certifying the cause of the death is only 22% nationwide, but in UP, which is perhaps the most populated state, it's just 5%. In Bihar, another very highly populated state, is just 2.5%. Against that background, Dr. Shevade, let's now come to COVID-19 deaths. In the article you wrote for the Hindu on the 10th, you say, and I'm quoting you, suspected COVID-19 deaths occurring at home or during transit or in non-COVID hospitals may not be reported. Outside designated COVID-19 facilities, there could be many instances of suspected COVID-19 being the cause of death, which might not be captured. In other words, there are many areas and there are many occasions when deaths that we believe are COVID-19 deaths are not counted as COVID-19 deaths, they're simply not captured. They are under the radar.
Yes, Mr. Thapa. So based on what we have discussed till now, even if we apply just that the death registration is poor, a lot of deaths in general happen at home, and the medical certification of cause of death is very poor, this is a possibility. Also, please, we should note that COVID death is defined as when suspected COVID or confirmed COVID is the cause of death. Now, the current reporting system that we have is focusing only on positive COVID patients. So the patients that are detected as COVID positive are being tracked by the health systems all the way up to recovery or death. And this reported COVID positive patients are a tip of the iceberg. So if you take an iceberg within an ocean, the reported COVID-19 is the tip of the iceberg. And the actual huge part of the iceberg that is under the ocean is the undiagnosed COVID-19, which is there in the community. And the seroprevalence survey data that we have substantiates our fact that we have a lot of undiagnosed COVID-19 in the community. And this can only, the deaths among these, which are suspected COVID-19, can be only picked up if we capture it through the routine death registration and medical certification system.
In fact, in that article, Dr. Gopal, you go one step further. You write, and once again I'm quoting, this may be more pronounced, this being the COVID-19 deaths that are not captured and not counted. This may be more pronounced in rural and semi-urban areas where there is poor access to health facilities and or qualified medical doctors. That clearly means that outside the big metropolises of Delhi, Bombay, Chennai, Bangalore, in tier 2 and tier 3 towns, and even more importantly in rural India, the number of COVID-19 deaths that are not counted is going to be much, much bigger.
Absolutely. Yes, when we did the estimation, the spread was predominantly in the metropolitan areas. But as the contagion spreads out and it reaches into tier 2, tier 3 cities and also into the rural areas, we need to understand how the registration and the medical coding is happening there. Registration wise, I really don't have much, concerns really. But if you look into the medically certified cause of death report, the report clearly states that the MCCD, the structure and the system is established in urban metropolitan cities and in few places wherein, the entire population is actually at huge. It is not well established in rural areas and more in terms of tier 2 and tier 3 cities. So this actually is being mentioned in the MCCD report per se. And hence, when the disease is actually spreading more towards, the other parts of, outside the urban areas, the system needs to have that power to capture actual coding of deaths. So it depends on the number of doctors, and it also depends on who is reporting whom and how quickly they're coming to the health system, and so many other factors, also testing as well.
You're making a very important point. As the incidence of the disease moves away from metropolitan centers like Delhi, Mumbai, Chennai, Bangalore, into small towns and then further into rural India, the number of COVID deaths that will not be captured will keep growing. In other words, the undercounting of COVID deaths will get worse. Now, Dr. Shivade, you actually, for the purposes of that article in the Hindu published on the 10th, done your calculations, and you've come to the conclusion that underreporting of COVID-19 deaths is as large as a factor of 5.29. Now, without going into technical details which laymen won't be able to follow, can you in simple language explain how you come to that 5.29 factor?
Yes, Mr. Thapa. So what we have done is we have adjusted for the prevailing coverage of what proportion of deaths undergo death registration and medical certification of cause of death. And that figure is 18 to 19% in India. So that 22% is among all registered deaths. But if you take among all estimated deaths that are there in the community, it is 18 to 19%. So the inverse of 18 to 19% is 5.29. And this 5.29 is for the whole of country, but we also calculated this for every state. So for a state where the death registration and medical certification cause of death is 100%, for example, Goa, it has a culture of reporting deaths and medically certifying deaths. There the correction factor is 1. Basically, we are not correcting anything. But for a state like Jharkhand, a state like Bihar, where the proportion of death registration along with medical certification is less than 5%, there the correction factor is as high as 35 or as high as 39. And our assumption here is that because the majority of the COVID-19 is undiagnosed COVID-19 that is there in the community, the extent to which the suspected deaths would be picked up would depend on how well the death registration and medical certification of cause of death is functioning.
So just in a nutshell for the audience, the number or percentage of deaths that are both registered and certified by a doctor is about 18-19%, and 5.29, which is the factor by which you believe there is undercounting of COVID-19, is the inverse of the 18-19%, which is both registered and certified. Now, Dr. Gopal,
yes, can I add a
ahead.
point here, Mr. Khan?
Go ahead.
Yes, so one thing your viewers should understand is we have not adjusted for errors in medical certification of cause of death. So a death getting registered, a death getting certified, but still, even if it gets certified, there could be some errors in medical certification. We have not adjusted for that aspect.
I understand. All I'll point out for the audience is there's no guarantee and certainty that the errors will actually increase the undercounting. It's conceivable that the errors could actually reduce the undercounting, but it's good of you to be honest and point out that you haven't adjusted for any errors in certification. Now, Dr. Gopal, as an illustration, you cite in your article the fact that officially the COVID death count on the 31st of July was 35,747, which you say amounts to a death rate of 26 deaths per million. However, you say if you count in the COVID deaths that have not been taken into account, the actual figure of deaths goes up to 1,88,939, which puts the death rate at 138 per million. That's a huge increase of over 150,000 deaths. And I just want to ask you a simple question. How confident are you of that 188,000 figure?
Okay, so before I start, let's understand estimates are estimates. We have mentioned certain limitations in this methodology. The prime assumption is that the registration and the trend of coding that is actually happening in non-COVID times is similar in COVID areas. I mean COVID pandemic as well. And second, we also assume that the timing of the pandemic has been similar across all the states, which is actually not so. So all these factors, of course, do play a role. So taking all these things into limitations into perspective, the estimate that we came across is definitely, we are confident in that because the methodology does have some limitations. However, I would like to quote some 2-3 other evidences just to support how undercounting is happening in other diseases in India. In tuberculosis, the annual TB report, if you can just check it out, the total number of reported deaths in tuberculosis is somewhere around 80,000 in 2019. But the estimated number of TB deaths in India was 450,000, which is 5.7 times underreporting. So that is one case. And then second scenario, I would like to take an instance of influenza virus, just to take in perspective of respiratory viruses. Now, influenza has an R0, which is the average number of patients that a particular infected person can spread, of 2. And it has a very shorter incubation period. And there is a study which was published in 2018, wherein the average number of influenza deaths happening between 2010 and 2013 in India is somewhere around 160,000, and with the upper range of almost around 190,000. So influenza has got its own seasonality. It does not actually cause the infection throughout the year. It has its own peaks. It is peaks during winters, peaks during the rainy seasons. However, taking a disease like the COVID novel coronavirus, so we have an R naught of 2.5. It has a longer incubation period. There are so much of challenges in identifying it in terms of pre-symptomatic, asymptomatic transmission. So somewhere down the line, we know that these numbers are pretty much plausible. And second, when we actually back calculate with the seroprevalence estimates from ICMR, which is around 0.78% as on April, and let's say I'm taking very conservative estimate that over the next 3 months till July 31st, India's seroprevalence is, let's say, 2% or 3%. When I back calculate it, the estimate that we are getting is coming an IFR of 0.6%. So IFR again is actually a function of how many deaths are reported and taking into consideration the quality of coding. So we really need to take all these factors into consideration. Yeah.
Now, Dr. Shivade, your conclusion that COVID deaths are underreported, undercounted by a factor of 5.29 is supported by the fact that in many states in India where COVID-19 deaths happen, along with comorbidities, the COVID-19 is not mentioned as the cause of death. In a note that you sent me a couple of days ago, you write, and I'm quoting from that note, some states went to the extent of blindly removing COVID-19 from cause of death wherever a comorbidity was present. Hence, even among the registered deaths with medical certification, COVID-19 deaths appear to be underreported. That's a particularly important last sentence. Even among the registered deaths with medical certification, COVID-19 deaths appear to be underreported. To me, that suggests a certain deliberate underreporting. Because I think ICMR guidelines and WHO guidelines clearly stipulate that if there is a death with comorbidity, but COVID-19 is also one of the causes, it must be registered as a COVID-19 death. But to do the opposite and not register it as COVID-19, but only in terms of the comorbidity, is therefore deliberate underreporting.
Mr. Thapar, I'll give you some data here. So Murad Banerjee has adjusted for the underreporting because of errors in MCCD, and these are the examples that you have cited. That a suspected COVID death comes to a COVID facility, somehow reaches the COVID facility, and it is not reported as a COVID death. And as you said, the classic example of comorbidities, which were reported especially during the month of April and May, and these were not included as COVID-19 deaths. So he did this estimation in 3 metropolitan cities. One is Mumbai, one is Delhi, and one in Chennai. So he did find that underreporting because of errors in certification of death, the 2 examples which I cited, suspected death not being reported as COVID-19, and where there's comorbidity, the death is not being reported. As a result of that, 50% of the deaths were being underreported. So if the true deaths were 100, only 50 were being reported by the authorities. Similarly, some amount of underreporting was also observed to a certain extent in Delhi as well as in Chennai. But because we didn't have a clear picture of what is the pan-India picture of quality of MCCD, we didn't have an objective number, we did not adjust for this. But please understand, if 2 times was the underreporting because of errors in medical certification in a city like Mumbai or in Maharashtra, imagine what would be the errors in certification once we go into tier 2, tier 3, and rural hospitals. So this is a very key point here.
Let me put that specific point to you, Dr. Gopal, because Murad Banerjee has actually done a study which you heard Dr. Shivade quote of Mumbai, and he's concluded that around 50% of deaths were missed or not reported. That's a huge percentage. 50% of deaths were missed or not reported. That presumably suggests something like carelessness or irresponsibility, or at the very least it suggests inefficiency.
Well, so basically the errors in MCCD is not something new. There have been studies published in the Journal of Forensic Science and several other journals from India, wherein the actual quality of MCCD is actually being quantified. The prime reasons are very simple. It's like basically the level, the person who actually dies, he actually dies because of a cardiopulmonary arrest. So what normally happens is, instead of going to the underlying cause, the normal person who does the coding goes to the immediate cause, which is actually seen right in front of you. So these are some very common reasons which is happening. So yes, there could be some element of training that is required. I totally agree with that. But let me also take some perspective of what is happening globally, just to understand how this error in MCCD is happening.
But very quickly,
Yeah.
I don't want to get deflected onto the global situation, but quickly, give me your answer.
Yes. So there has been an article that came in the New York Times, wherein as on July 31st, there were like close to 29 countries have been studied. India is not part of it, wherein they have actually looked into the quality of coding in these countries, and they actually added 161,000 deaths as on July 31st. And recently, I just saw a couple of days back, this number has increased to 207,000. So slowly and steadily, people are actually looking into the deaths. They're trying to understand the actual, the underlying cause of deaths, trying to, do the death auditing, and the reconciliations are done. So these things have, we understand.
Dr. Gopal, you're making a very important point. If in America, a country where in fact you have a much better health system than India by far, they're still having to increase the medical certification of deaths by as much as 207,000, which is a huge increase, then clearly
it's in 29 countries, not just US alone. 29 countries. Yeah.
That clearly suggests that in fact in India,
Yeah.
the MCDD system will be questionable. But there's one more reason, Dr. Shivade, why COVID-19 deaths in India are very largely underreported. And that's because, as you point out, the West has a system for counting and including what they call suspected COVID-19 deaths. We don't have a system of either identifying suspected COVID-19 deaths, leave aside including them. Very quickly, can you answer two questions? What exactly is a suspected COVID-19 death? Give me a simple answer. And how large is this element that is not getting counted?
Yes, so suspected COVID-19 death is where the cause of death is certified as suspected COVID. That means clinically, based on examination, history, and investigations, the features are, in line with COVID-19, and you cannot explain any other cause, but you do not have a COVID positive test result with you. So in that case, suspected COVID-19 can be labeled as a cause of death, and this should be included as a COVID death. So this point is very important of including suspected COVID-19 deaths, because a country like UK also reconciles its suspected COVID-19 death data from its MCCD report. Obviously, they have a reporting of death among positive patients, but they also reconcile their suspected deaths and add to the tally based on their medical certification report.
In which case, how large do you think is the element of suspected COVID deaths which are not being taken into account? Do you have any idea?
So our correction, yes, our correction is mostly for the suspected deaths, Mr. Thapa, because as I said before, 1 to 5% of the total COVID-19 that is there in the community is captured through testing in India. The remaining 95% is undiagnosed COVID-19 that is there in the community. And we can capture COVID deaths among them only if we report diagnosed suspected COVID-19 deaths through a routine death registration and medical certification. Whatever be the coverage, if it is 16%, 30%, that is fine. We cannot improve it overnight, but at least encourage doctors to report suspected COVID-19 and reconcile the data is what we are requesting.
Now, this leads to an obvious question, Dr. Gopal. In your article, the two of you have estimated that the underreporting of COVID-19 deaths is by a factor of 5.29. You think it could be greater? You think instead of 5.29, it could be 6 or 7?
Well, at this moment, we have just arrived at the estimate based on prevailing MCCD and CRS reports. But we need to triangulate this information with excessive deaths, like how these 29 countries have done. They have checked into what was the excessive deaths during this period of the pandemic and compared it with the previous years. And they did extensive death auditing of all these patients. I would like to quote on Belgium. Belgium is one example here wherein they have done an extreme. They went into over-reporting, wherein they took, all suspected deaths during the surge in that particular country, and they're pretty, confident with it. That's the reason why Belgium has got the highest deaths per million. And if you take UK, like how Hemant had just quoted, I would like to mention one specific factor here. In India, we stop follow-up of a particular patient once he or she is recovered. In UK, after recovery or whatever discharge, the patients are followed up, and anytime they die, they have been labeled as a COVID-19 death. So now recently, the BBC News, and even if you look into the UK news, they have actually cut short the definition to 28 days post recovery, so that they see that how many deaths are happening during this interval, because COVID-19 actually harms the immune system.
Stop you there, Dr. Gopal. If you were to do the triangulation with excess deaths, which is something you say you'd like to do, what do you think the factor of undercounting could become? I know I'm asking only for guesswork, but when that triangulation with excess deaths is done, could 5.29 go up or down?
We really can't say that right now. We know that there is an underreporting because of the MCCD errors, and what we have estimated based on the MCCD and the registration numbers is based on non-COVID times. So it may increase further to maybe 6 or 7 as well, or it may even reduce down. So we really can't say that unless we have the data coming up. And that's the reason why we have requested, even in the same article towards the end, that we need to look into the CRS, the registration numbers of excess deaths pre and during the pandemic for better interpretation.
Let me put the very same question to you for a quick answer, Dr. Shivade. If that triangulation of excess deaths is done, do you, like Dr. Gopal, believe that in fact the factor of 5.29 could either go up to 6 or 7, but it could also conceivably go down? Or do you think it will only go up?
So if you go by our methodology, as we have suggested, that we have adjusted for the extent of registration and medical certification. We have not adjusted for errors. So if you go methodologically, if you adjust for errors as well, the correction factor will slightly increase. Like Murad Banerjee has suggested that it could be by 2 times. But as Giridhar said, these are all estimates. And we can go by estimate based on available data, that is CRS, MCCD report of the government, and the report.
But I'm interrupting you. I'm interrupting you. Which are you saying? Are you saying it could both go up or down, which is the answer Dr. Gopal gave, or are you coming down only on the side of going up? Give me a clear answer.
The clear answer is it can go any side because these are estimates, and estimates have their limitations. But this is a significant number that we are quoting, that 5 times, 6 times. And even others have stated that we need the civil registration system data to come out and maybe on a monthly basis, so that we can look at differences in deaths and see how far are our estimates or how far are the reported deaths from the true picture.
Let's take a break at that point, gentlemen. When I come back, I want to put to you the criticism that your article has faced. Most importantly, from another article in the Hindu published just 4 days after yours, by Professor Giridhar Babu. That article was published on the 14th. He does not accept what you're saying. So when I come back after the break, I want to put the criticism you face and see how you respond to it. Welcome back to a special discussion for the Wire. I'm talking to 2 well-known community physicians who spent a career in public health. They wrote an article for the Hindu on the 10th of August where they argue that the undercounting of COVID-19 deaths in India could be by a factor of 5.29. The article takes as an example, as an illustration, the official death count on the 31st of July, which was just over 35,000 to be precise, 35,747. They say that if you add to that the COVID deaths that have not been counted, that figure increases by over 150,000 to 1,88,939. And in terms of deaths per million, on the 31st of July, it was 26 deaths per million as India's death rate. It actually should have been, they say, 138 per million. Now I'm going to put to them the criticism their article has faced to see how they respond to it. Dr. Shivade, just 4 days after you published your article on the 10th in the Hindu, there was a second article on the 14th by Professor Giridhar Babu, Professor of Epidemiology at the Public Health Foundation of India in Bangalore. And I'm going to quote what he says. With no supporting evidence, such as a surge in numbers from burial grounds or in the neighborhood, it is counterintuitive to assume that we have undercounted thousands of deaths. Deaths, he says, cannot be hidden in the case of COVID-19. I'm going to repeat that. Deaths cannot be hidden in the case of COVID-19. Sooner or later, they get reported due to a vigilant media and an active civil society. How do you respond to that?
Mr. Thapa, thank you very much for bringing this point. We also, if I'm right, Professor Giridhar Babu also came on an interview. And in that same interview, when you asked him to whether you would like to refute or whether you would agree with what we have done, he suggested that this is one of the methodologies to assess estimated deaths. And unless we don't have the difference in death registration data before and during COVID period, he said he cannot refute or he cannot accept. Now, to wait for surge in numbers in burial ground or in the neighborhood, that is extreme. I'll give you an example of New York. A city like New York, on an average, has 25 home deaths per day. And this is in the pre-COVID periods. Then they started looking during the COVID periods, what are the number of home deaths per day? Those numbers were way, way, way higher. And they looked at that data. That data was publicly available. And therefore, they reconciled their numbers. They thought, okay, we are missing home deaths. Maybe we are making errors in certifying those deaths. So all we are telling is unless we have data, we cannot go by the comments that have been made. We request that the data of crematorium and civil death registration are released at frequent intervals so that we can triangulate. Can I make one more point here?
Very quickly.
We have similar examples from other disease control programs. We have stated that before as well. The TB control program of India, currently called as the National TB Elimination Program, is one of the robust disease control programs of India. And it reports 80,000 TB deaths per year. But the reported deaths are around 450,000. And please note, our reporting is focused on
that figure was already given in part 1 by your colleague Dr. Gopal. You're repeating it.
Yes. I'm repeating it, yes.
The point you're making is that the official tally of TB deaths is 80,000 in 2019. The unofficial tally is 450,000, and as Dr. Gopal
it's not unofficial. It's not unofficial. It is reported versus estimated. Reported is by the Government of India in its national TB report, and estimated is by WHO. Okay. This is an accepted thing. Our reported cannot cover all the estimates.
As far as TB is concerned, as Dr. Gopal said, therefore the underreporting is 5.7. But let's come back to COVID, because this is about COVID. I want to put to you, Dr. Gopal, a criticism that many will make of your claim that the underreporting of COVID deaths is by as much as a factor of 5.2. If we are missing, to take the illustration of July 31, something over 150,000 deaths, how come there aren't queues at crematoriums and burial grounds that no one can see? There should be queues of people. There should be a sense of concern and panic. Surely hospitals should be filling up with people falling ill. A lot of people who die of COVID become breathless. Those people will not sit at home. They will go to hospitals. And hospitals will be reporting a huge increase in patients, but none of that is happening. The burial grounds don't have queues. The crematoriums don't have queues. Hospital beds are, by the way, empty, particularly in Delhi, or at least they're emptying. Those queues of people who are breathless and panicky are missing. How do you answer that?
Well, so this is actually not something that we are trying to say that happening only in urban areas. It's actually evenly spread out. And if you could see in how recent times the test positivity rates are increasing in districts in Maharashtra, in UP, in Bihar, it's actually concerning because, the disease has actually started to spread beyond the urban areas. And point number 2 is that I would like to quote here about the NSSO, which is another statistic. It's a survey that happens every year, and the 71st round actually says that as compared to the 60th round, people actually seeking care to the public health facilities is actually 30-40% in the entire country. It's an average. I mean, I'm taking this for pneumonia per se. I'm not taking for any other disease.
Dr. Gopal, I'm stopping you. Answer my specific concern that if there is a huge number of COVID deaths that are not being reported, why aren't there queues at burial grounds and crematoriums? Why aren't hospital beds running short? Why aren't people coming panicking because they can't breathe? None of that is happening. And yet you're claiming we're hugely undercounting COVID deaths. Answer that.
Well, see, we have actually taken the estimate and we have taken the assumptions which are actually having their own limitations, of course. The point that we want to say that underreporting is definitely there. It's, I mean, the kind of numbers that we have got is based on the government reports, and that gives us the estimate of 5.29, assuming how the reporting of certifications and registrations are happening in pre-COVID times. I do believe that it could be different during these days. And second, we are in a very early stage of the pandemic. Definitely the numbers that we have estimated may come down, provided we are actually triangulating this information. But this main point that we need to concern, which I actually have mentioned before, that when the disease is actually spreading to rural areas, the undercounting is actually going to increase much further, which we may not know because people in rural areas don't seek much care as compared to urban areas wherein you have hospitals and everywhere. So that is one point.
I'll stop you there. I take that point on board. We made it in part one, but it's worth repeating again. As the incidence of the disease spreads from metropolises to tier 2 and tier 3 cities and then to rural India, the undercounting of COVID deaths will hugely increase because the medical facilities are less, hospitals are less, doctor certification is almost absent. So yes, that is a looming threat. But that threat only looms if the assumption that you're beginning with is correct. That assumption is that already we have a huge problem in terms of undercounting. That is the assumption I'm challenging. Let me, Dr. Shivade, challenge it in a different way. India is not the only country with a low COVID-19 mortality rate. Our neighbors have rates of COVID mortality that are even lower than us. Sri Lanka is just 0.6 per million. Nepal is 5 per million. Then there are countries further afield which have a lower mortality rate than India. I'm talking about Thailand, again, 0.8 per million. Malaysia, Indonesia, Philippines, they're all lower than India. And finally, there's the whole of sub-Saharan Africa, with the possible exception of South Africa. They have very low COVID mortality rates. Are you suggesting that all these countries are undercounting? If they have low mortality rates without undercounting, then surely India can too.
Mr. Thapa, I would again take you back to medical certification of cause of death. What is prevailing in those countries? For all our neighbors, you can take the example of Pakistan, Bangladesh, Nepal. You can even take the example of Myanmar. They have not reported any MCCD data to World Health Organization. So our source of data is the Global Health Observatory of the World Health Organization, from where the World Health statistics are generated. So we can presume that the medical certification of deaths in these countries are poor. And even in the other countries, examples that you gave, for example, in Philippines, it is 27. In Sri Lanka, it is low. But please note that in Sri Lanka, the testing rates are also very poor. So when we do these comparisons across countries, we need to look at various factors. We need to look at death registration, medical certification, whether they are reporting suspect deaths or not, what is their testing, what are their test positivity rates, what was their response to the pandemic, how early they responded, what is the population density, and very important, what is the stage of epidemic in that country. Now, deaths per million is a cumulative number. It is only going to increase, right? So countries which are very early in their epidemic will have lower deaths per number. Countries which are later will have a higher deaths per number. But if you just go by reported deaths per million, India has the highest deaths per million in the region. I think it is currently around 42 or 43.
42.
If I'm right, please correct
42.
me. Yes.
42 as of this morning.
Yes.
Okay. Let me end by putting one more reason to you, Dr. Gopal, why India has a low COVID mortality rate, and this is not a reason to doubt the rate. And this is not a reason to therefore believe there is undercounting. A number of epidemiologists and virologists say there are at least 3 good reasons why India's mortality from COVID is low. And by the way, these reasons apply to all the other countries I mentioned. Firstly, it's the age demographic. We have a young population. The median age in India is probably 28, 29. For most of Europe, it's in the late 40s. 90% of India is under 60, 83% is under 50. Young people can withstand COVID-19 much better than older population. A second reason given is that Indians like Pakistanis, Sri Lankans, people from Thailand, Myanmar have been exposed to a much higher level of virus and infection, and therefore they have innate immunity. That level of innate immunity does not exist in Europe and America. Thirdly, there are some people, not all, some who say there may even be a genetic component. I believe, but this has to be proven scientifically, that the virus behaves differently with different blood groups. Now, these are three reasons why not just India, but all the other countries I mentioned have a low COVID mortality, and you may have to accept it for these reasons and not question whether there's undercounting. How do you respond to this argument?
I don't totally disregard any of these statements. Definitely, age is something that India is having as a protective shield. But when we actually try to compare it with countries like Brazil, which are actually in the same tropical zones, Brazil's age pyramid is somewhat similar. So if you look into the kind of age composition of Brazil and the terms of their population density and also in the number of slums that they live in, if you see the most badly hit the provinces of Brazil were actually Sao Paulo, wherein the age structure and the population density in slums is actually pretty much similar to what you can see in slums of Delhi or Mumbai. So age per se, yes, definitely it is a protective factor. It's actually counterintuitive. We can actually think younger people will have better immunity to stand this severe infection. But if you try to compare with Brazil, I really don't have an answer. But second, when we look in terms of hygienic, definitely yes, countries in the Southeast Asia and Sub-Saharan Africa, all the countries have actually got a lot of infections because of low hygiene and living conditions. So there is some evidence that is coming up wherein they say there is cross immunity because of past infections due to common viruses that's spreading across, and that could offer some help.
If you accept these reasons, then aren't they good explanations for India having a very low COVID death rate? Why do you then believe, after accepting these reasons, there's undercounting? That's the question I'm asking you. These reasons surely explain the low death rate, and you don't have to claim there's undercounting.
We need to look at it into two spectrums. It's not just the age, because if I take the age structure of Brazil's MCCD is close to 100%. Now we need to take all these factors together to get actual average, weighted average of what could be the reality. Now age, living conditions, cross immunity because of other past infections, genetics, yes, I totally agree. But MCCD and certification also have to be pulled into this factor as well, because taking all these factors together will give us more reality that is closer to the truth. So that is what we wanted to...
Because once again, you're not answering my question. You've gone off on a tangent to talk about age and genetics and infection. My question was different. I can see Dr. Shivade wants to come in. Let me repeat the question and then you answer it and then we'll end the interview. The three reasons I cited, many people believe are adequate explanations for the fact India, Pakistan, Nepal, Sub-Saharan Africa have low COVID mortality rates. And if they are adequate explanations, then surely that rules out underreporting. That's the question. Why do you expect that these are explanations for low COVID mortality and yet believe there's underreporting?
Thank you for bringing this point. This is very important. I'll add to what Giridhara said just now. Now, let us compare some data based on infection fatality rates. Infection fatality rates is the numerator where you have the deaths, and denominator is the total infections, the information that we get from the seroprevalence data. Now, when we compare the infection fatality rates of Mumbai and Delhi with cities like New York and London, our infection fatality rates are 3 to 12 times lower than the infection fatality rates in London or New York. In other words, London and New York have 3 to 12 times higher infection fatality or mortality when compared to India. So yes, age is one of the reasons, but it is not a, only age cannot explain a 12 times reduction in mortality or a 5 times reduction in mortality. Age can explain a reduction in mortality by 2 times or 3 times. So there are multiple factors. So because of the extent of difference, I seriously think that MCCD also has to play a role, and therefore underreporting also has to play a role.
Okay.
One of the key reasons for this is our reporting focuses only on confirmed COVID-19. We are not collecting data of suspected COVID-19, and suspected COVID-19 can only be collected from undiagnosed people who are there in the community. We don't know they are COVID-19.
Okay.
And the extent to which we collect suspected COVID-19 deaths from them is directly proportional to the coverage of death registration and medical certification.
You make a very good point. You compare the infection rate, infection mortality rate,
Fatality rates, yes.
And you say there's a difference of 12 times or more. And you say that huge difference of 12 times and more between India and UK cannot simply be explained by age or even a combination of age and innate immunity. There is an element of underreporting. I think many will accept
One
that.
more point.
I should point out the government probably won't. We don't know what the government's response to either your article or to this interview will be. But one thing I feel absolutely certain that the health ministry will not agree with your findings and not agree with your explanations. But that is for the government. You have every right to put across your viewpoint, and it's fundamentally important that the Indian people should hear it. Very quickly, because we're running out of time. What do you want to say, Dr. Shivadi? Very quickly.
Just 2 points. Yes, so we should look at the deaths per million of Brazil. With a similar age structure, it is 423 deaths per million. It's way high. So just age doesn't explain it, underreporting. Second, and the final point, we sincerely hope that in long term, this pandemic, this gives us an opportunity to look at our death registration and medical certification of cause of death, so that we improve this, so that we have correct information on mortality, so that districts can use this information to reduce mortality at their district level, and obviously at state and national level.
I'm stopping you there. The point you make about Brazil is a very important one. The age structure, the age demographics of the Brazilian population is very similar, you say, to the Indian population, yet Brazil's death rate is something like 400 plus per million compared to India's, which is 42 per million, a difference of a factor of 10. And that age alone cannot explain. And by the way, Brazil has the same, one presumes, innate immunity that India does. Genetics may be a third concern we don't know about. But yes, this is clearly an issue that needs to be debated. Your claim that the underreporting is by a factor of 5.29 can be criticized. It has been criticized. Some may put the underreporting higher, some may put it lower. But it's hard to believe there is no underreporting. That would be almost inconceivable. And it's also hard to say that there aren't good reasons why India, like all our neighbors, is doing much better than European countries. Somewhere in the middle of this, the truth lies. I thank you for joining me. I thank you for taking time out from your work to explain this. And I thank you for the courage of making your views known in the Hindu, because it isn't easy to go against what the government so firmly insists, that India has a low COVID mortality rate. Take care. Stay safe.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Thapa. Thank you.
To receive instant updates on all videos from The Wire, click the subscribe button and hit the bell icon. Pay to support independent journalism. Click the link in the description and choose the amount you want to pay.